H3 Music.
You gotta be kidding me! Sports. Yay.
It's insanity. Welcome into Cole's Corner. It's me, your host, Cole Johnson. Thank you for listening, however you may be listening. We are here on WMCB, The Fuse, from the basement of Medai College, home of the Mavericks. Good afternoon. The show brought to you by Beyond the Box Score. Cole Johnson, Connor Priester, hold of that. A lot on the show today, a lot to get through, filled with stuff. We got talking NFL, of course, in Week 5. We got the McGregor-Khabib fight. We got our dumpster fires, higher fires of the week, Drew Brees, a lot. I'm going to start with this. First dollar take. See, every career has a certain amount of professionalism that goes with it. Whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, president of a school, a teacher, communications liaison, waitress, agent, or a pro athlete, you are held to a certain standard in that given field that people are supposed to look up to. Some professions more than others, obviously. For some of them, though, there's a pedestal where your actions are so important to the younger people in this generation. You are role models. They look up to you. So Saturday, there was a fight. And yes, disclaimer here, there was an organized fight. A UFC showdown. Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov. It was in the octagon. It was the almighty, notorious one, Conor McGregor, and his underdog opponent, Khabib. Well, the notorious one got smacked. Lost decisively. But then, that's when we saw a melee right there on national television in front of millions of viewers. Khabib jumps over the wall of the octagon and attacks McGregor's camp, all his fans. Then all of a sudden we get our attention turned the other way, and Khabib's guys are jumping over and attacking McGregor. It was a mess. It made for good TV, sure. People like that. That it's something like it's one of those train wreck things. You can't stop watching it. It makes for good TV. All the shows we watch on TV that are just nonsense, but we continue to watch them and their ratings go up because they're nonsense. It lived up to the sport in itself with aggressive behavior, ruthlessness. It was good TV. Some people like to see that. But coming from a sports perspective, in competition, fair play, can we all remember that this is a professional sport? The UFC is a professional sport. Just making it clear for everyone, just so everyone knows. See, Khabib claims that McGregor attacked his religion, his family, and so on. Sure, he might have. He probably did. Does that mean you really have to jump over the octagon and start an all-out brawl, getting fans involved? It's a disgrace. Now, in this moment, Conor McGregor did nothing wrong. In this moment, he didn't. He didn't jump out of the octagon. He didn't start it. He got jumped from behind, no defense. But he did have it coming. All of his previous actions with other opponents, his trash-talking incident months ago when attacking that bus, throwing stuff on it, he put a lot of people in danger. All of these things are why this happened. So the blame is just as much on him. I mean, this is a professional sport. You know, Ultimate Fighting Champion. Some people tie it to the WWE, but it's real. This is real stuff. It's an athletic venue on live television. It sets a bad example for the sport, and Dana White sets a bad example for future athletes, not only in this sport, but all sports. See, it's disgusting, it's childish. All political views aside, religious views aside, without ripping either of these guys and their teams apart, personally, this was terrible, and I don't like to see it. If you're a professional, be a professional. Be professional. It's a professional sport. You have a pedestal you are supposed to live up to, and both of these guys got way off of that, and it's hard to see in the sports world. You don't like to see it. So some hot take headlines real quick, jump into them. Chiefs stay unbeaten. The Rams stay unbeaten. The only two 5-0 teams in the league. Chiefs took care of Jacksonville at home, made Jacksonville look bad again. The Rams survive in Seattle, had a tough game. Sean McVay making a big call at the end, 4th and 1, goes for it, sneak by Jared Goff. Everyone's pumped up. Texans win their second straight game in overtime. They take down Dallas on Sunday Night Football. That was a great football game, by the way. Very physical. The refs let the guys play. It was good football. Carolina beats the New York Giants on a Graham Gano 63-yard field goal. It hurts. It's tough to see. That's the second year in a row the Giants have lost on a 60-plus yarder to end a game. Tough for them. Baseball. Brewers sweep the Rockies in the NLDS, their first NLCS appearance since 2011. The Dodgers beat the Braves in 4 games. They're headed to their 3rd consecutive NLCS. The Astros sweep the Indians to reach their 2nd straight ALCS. And then last night, the Red Sox took Game 3 in New York in a brutal game, 16-1. Brock Holt hit for a cycle. Brock Holt. Yeah, the Yankees' backup catcher, Austin Romine, pitched the 9th inning. Anyway, so with that, let's get into Week 5 of the NFL. This has been a very, very, very interesting year of football so far. I'm fully into it. It's fun to watch. We have a lot of young stars, good teams that are winning that I didn't think were going to be winning. Anyway, we have our dumpster fires. Every Tuesday, dumpster fires, higher fires. We got our 5. Here we go. Cue it up. At number 5, this team started 3-0. They have a healthy team with an offensive head coach in Adam Gase. Yet they have trouble scoring. Yes, I'm talking about the Miami Dolphins. They laid an egg in New England. We talked about this last week. Versus a beat-up team. That New England team was beat up last week, and they laid an egg, lost 38-7. Now, this week, they get another chance at redemption. They play in Cincinnati. It's a tough game. I knew it was going to be a tough game. They were up 14-0, 17-3. They blow a 17-3 lead. Lose to the Bengals, and now they have a tough Bears team next week, this week coming up. That Bears team is a lot better than I think we all thought they were going to be with the addition of Khalil Mack. It's made that defense stellar so far. Miami needs to figure it out. They're now 3-2. They're starting to lose ground. Miami at 5. Number 4, the Tennessee Titans. They beat the Eagles in overtime. Woohoo! We're all Marcus Mariota fans now. We love the Titans. We love our head coach, Mike Vrabel. We're 3-1. Yes! Well, Tennessee, you were in the driver's seat going to a dumpster fire in Buffalo. Coming off a overtime win over the defending champs. You go to Buffalo and you lay an egg. It was a terrible football game. Mariota throws for only 129 yards and a pick and lose a 13-12 game in which the only touchdown in the game was a rush touchdown by rookie Josh Allen on a scramble. That was the game. They get a go-ahead field goal late. They let Buffalo run the ball the entire drive down the field. The Bills had about 4 minutes. The Titans easily could have got the ball back. They let the Bills run all over them to the end. Give a game-winning field goal. It's over. Their run is over. I didn't believe in them from the start. I didn't think they were a real 3-1 team. Their defense is there. Their offense, not there at all. It was a brutal game. Brutal schedule the next 4 weeks for Tennessee. Tennessee at 4. Number 3. Aaron Rodgers. He threw for 442 yards and 3 touchdowns. Looks like a good stat line, but Mason Crosby missed 4 field goals and an extra point. Aaron Rodgers can't do everything. He can't. And it's all on the rest of the team. Aaron Rodgers is the man. He can't do everything. Folks, Aaron Rodgers' numbers came in garbage time after getting off to a 24 deficit on the road in a big division game against Detroit. And yes, his numbers are going to be like that. He had to throw every time because they don't have a running game. He threw 52 times. What's up with the NFC North quarterbacks throwing 50 times a game? Kirk Cousins. Their defense is bad. Rodgers has no weapons, especially when Cobb is out. Remember, he doesn't have Jordy Nelson anymore. Remember that? We got a lot of slack for not putting the Packers in the top 10 of the NFL after last week. But they showed it this week. There's a reason we didn't have them in the top 10. Their win against Buffalo last week wasn't even a clean game. They won 22-0, but that was an ugly game. See, they may be able to bounce back this week coming off of that loss this week because they have San Francisco. San Francisco's a mess. They're not even on my dumpster fire. They're off of it. I don't even want to recognize them the rest of the year without Jimmy Garoppolo, if we're going to be completely honest. But they then have the Rams and then New England. If they don't figure it out this week with a clean, big win over San Francisco, it could be a long year for the Cheeseheads. Long year. Packers at 3. Number 2. See, you win the Super Bowl. You get all high and mighty. You puff your chest out. You know, the city of Philadelphia won't shut up about it. Their first Super Bowl in franchise history. We're the best. The city of brotherly love. Best city in America. Now we have the best football team. Listen here. The Dallas Cowboys have 5 Super Bowl rings. The Giants have 4. And the Washington Redskins have 3. This was your first Super Bowl. You don't even win in your division in NFL history. Get over it. Remember our quote from Mr. Old Lane Johnson, let's put dog masks on our face. We're the underdog. Yeah, that Lane Johnson, yeah. Last year, and he said, I'd rather win 1 Super Bowl and be happy than win 5 and be miserable, referring to New England Patriots. How do you feel now, Lane? You're a 2-3 team that has looked not good all year. The 2 wins you have were not good wins at all. The team looks flat. Your offense is 18th in total yards, 25th in points per game. You got the Giants this week on a short week. That game's going to be rough. That's 2 teams that need a win on a short week. That might be a rough game to watch. They got to figure it out because you have a brutal schedule the rest of the way. And I mean brutal. That's what happens when you win your division and win the Super Bowl. The next year's going to be tough. Bring the chests back in. Coming back down to reality, Philadelphia. You're number 2 on the dumpster fire. Number 1. The New York Football Giants have finally made it into the dumpster fire. It's been a matter of time. They were on it all of last year. And we're back. It only took 5 weeks to do it. Probably could have been on it after last week. But here's the thing. It's not just winning and losing the football game to determine dumpster fire. That has a lot to do with it, for sure. But we go into this week with controversy in the locker room, and it starts with Odell Beckham Jr. and the rest of the team and the media. Odell Beckham Jr. was saying things to Josina Anderson in an off-the-field interview, saying the Giants are right now, they don't play with heart, and then on the offensive side, calling out his quarterback Eli Manning, not throwing the ball downfield, we're dumping it off. He said everything that was true. Just people were talking about it. He was the only one that actually to come out and say it. Well, then Pat Shurmur had a problem with it. He pulled him aside and talked to him. Then it became a whole media issue because now everyone's talking about it. They go into Carolina, play their best game that they have all year. Oh, I wonder why, because Eli Manning was throwing the ball down the field. And they score 31 points because of it. They pull a nice trick play. Odell Beckham throws a touchdown to Saquon Barkley. They take the lead late, another Barkley touchdown. And then just history repeats itself. They lose, unfortunately, on a 63-yard field goal by Graham Gano. Unbelievable. It's terrible. Heartbreaking loss. You're not 1-4. But the reason that you're on the dumpster fire is not just because you're 1-4 and you have a short week coming up against Philadelphia on Thursday night. Issues around the locker room. The media got involved. It's not looking good for anybody. The Giants at number 1. They need a win this week or their season is in ruins. That's it. There's your dumpster fires for the week. Run it through real quick again. We got Miami, Tennessee, Green Bay, Philadelphia, and New York. The Higher Flyers. Now these are teams that are looking good after this week. Not terrible. They're not in a dumpster. They're higher. They're on top. They're firing. They're blazing. They're the Blazing Five. Number 5. Oh, welcome back to the club. The New England Patriots. Edelman is back. Sony Michel looks like more comfortable running the football, the rookie running back. And Tom Brady is just being Tom Brady. After the performance from the last 2 weeks, they put up 38 points in each game. They're out of the September slump, something they tend to run into with Bill Belichick at the helm. And now they have a shot at Patrick Mahomes this week on Sunday Night Football. It should be a showdown, a shootout, going to be a great game. This New England team finally looks like they're back to New England football. It's only a matter of time before this team clicks, everyone's healthy, and the Patriots once again are going to be on top of the AFC at some point, and that all comes down to this week and see what they can do against Kansas City. And we'll get to them in a bit, but that's it. New England at 5. Number 4, completely turning it around after the first couple weeks looking terrible. This team looks back to where they were at the end of last year. They look scary good on Monday Night Football last night. Drew Brees is the new passing record champ. Mark Ingram is back to complete the scariest tandem of running backs in football. All is good in New Orleans. Scored 43 points last night, now making them the highest scoring team in the league. They're at 36 points per game. Disclaimer here, though. They have a scary, tough schedule moving forward. The next 4 weeks, they're at Baltimore, home against the Vikings, home against the Rams, and then at the Bengals. It's a tough 4-game stretch. But if they can get 2 or 3 wins out of those next 4, they are in a great position. They're going to take over the South. You don't have to worry about the Falcons anymore. They're 1-4. Their defense is in ruins. If they play again, we'll probably see another shootout where the Saints will come on top because that Atlanta defense is terrible. So the Saints are in a great position right now. They looked good against a team that started to look like an underdog in the Washington Redskins. Well, they threw that all away last night in a blowout win on Monday night. Drew Brees also becoming the all-time leading passing yard holder. Great scene. New Orleans at 4. Number 3 on our dumpster fire. Well, they won again. They trailed 14-0, then 17-3. They came back and won versus Miami. The offense is getting better and better, and that defense is outstanding. 2 defensive touchdowns and made Tannehill look terrible. It's the Cincinnati Bengals. See, now it's tough to put them ahead of some of these teams. And I had to bounce a couple teams out because of it, like the Minnesota Vikings, who won another big game on the road in Philly. Minnesota's right there. It's tough to pull Jacksonville out. I had them in last week. They're out because of this. But I had Cincinnati at 3 last week, and they won again in good fashion by coming back from a 2-touchdown deficit, which is not easy to do. I can't remove them yet. Now, I can't say what the rest of the season is going to hold. We've seen this from Cincinnati before. They get off to a good start. They're in playoff position, and then things start to crumble. They still haven't won a playoff game under Marvin Lewis. They're one of those teams that gets there and can't win. That's why temporarily I can't remove them yet because they are 4-1. They have looked through 5 weeks one of the best teams in this league. Now they have Pittsburgh next week and Kansas City the week after that. So that's when we will really see what Marvin Lewis has up his sleeve for this team. But for now, that is Cincinnati Bengals at number 3. Whoa, number 2 and number 1, they go hand in hand. You can't do anything but keep these guys up there. It's the Kansas City Chiefs here at number 2. They win again. They're 5-0. It was a game against Jacksonville. A lot of people thought Jacksonville would turn it around, get a big game, win another one in Kansas City. And Patrick Mahomes said no. He's like, this is still my league right now. I'm the best quarterback here playing right now. Blake Bortles came into this week playing well. That turned around. Kansas City just outstanding. Again, they have way too many weapons. Not even the Jacksonville defense can guard them. This is a scary team, and it's very interesting to see what they're going to do on Sunday night against New England. That is going to be a fantastic game in Foxborough on the road Sunday night. We'll see what Patrick Mahomes really has. Number 1, the LA Rams. You can't take them off. This team has a most realistic shot at going 15-1 possibly. I've already mentioned the matchup between these two teams, Kansas City and LA, in Week 11. But the LA Rams, still, just like the Chiefs, so many weapons. It's hard to guard them. The only thing we have to look forward now is to that Cooper Kupp and Brandon Cooks, 2 of Jared Goff's best targets, are now in. They both have concussions. They left the games in concussion protocol. They have concussions now. We'll see what Jared Goff can do, because everyone thinks that he's the system quarterback and he has so many weapons. Of course he's doing well. What we can see coming up, if those two don't play moving forward, we will really see what this team is and what Jared Goff is leading this team moving forward. But as of right now, still the best team in the league. No one has even touched them yet. Scoring points, and that's what they've been doing. Rams at 1. Those are your higher flyers for the week. And we will move on. Now, see, something happened on Sunday night. In my $100 take. Sunday Night Football, I mentioned, I'll go back to this point. It was a great football game. Very physical. We saw a lot of great, outstanding defensive plays on both sides. That was one of the best defensive games I've seen played by both sides in one game this whole season. A lot of hard hits, just a lot of great plays. The refs let the guys play. There was no unnecessary flags for roughing the passer, unnecessary roughness. It was a very physical football game, and it led to a fun and exciting overtime game in Houston. The second overtime game in a row they've won. And there's something that happened, though, in overtime, and it's something we will go back to last week. And in Houston again. It's happened in Houston 2 weeks in a row. It was the Colts and Frank Reich who decided to go for it on 4th and 2 in their own end. And he came out and said afterwards, of course I'm going for it. The guys in the locker room stood behind me. We're not playing for a tie. We're playing for a win. And he went for the win. Didn't get it. They end up losing because of it. Now, the thing here is that now, here in this week, we have the Dallas Cowboys. The only difference here is they're on the other side of the 50. They were in Houston territory with the ball 4th and 1. You have a decent offensive line and Zeke Elliott in the backfield. You could do a quarterback sneak with Dak Prescott, hand it off to Zeke Elliott. There's so many ways that this team could have got 1 yard on a 4th and 1. Instead, Jason Garrett decides to punt it, gives Houston the ball. Houston goes down and wins it on a field goal. So, bottom line, in 2 weeks in Houston, we've seen coaches on the road make 2 different decisions. One went for it, didn't turn out well, they lose the game. Other guy didn't go for it, punted the ball, still lost the game. We've seen 2 separate coaching decisions come out with the same result. And that's why I don't think we need to we focus too much on the coaching decisions we see week to week, game to game. We put a lot of pressure on the play calling of the coaches, which is understandable. At the same time, you see here 2 separate coaching decisions that led to the same result. And that's not going to happen all the time. Things can happen. It's a game of football. It's sports. Anything can happen. But the thing for me is, in this situation, if you have the ball on the other side of the 50, you're on near the 40-yard line, 1 yard to get. Once you get past that 50 in overtime, especially with only a 10-minute period, you're not playing for a tie. Once you pass that 50-yard line, I think you need to go for it. You have to set the tone on the road in a big spot. It's the Texas battle. It's Houston and Dallas. On Sunday Night Football, primetime television, you're trying to show your strengths, the best parts about your team and why you're going to be hanging around at the end of the season. And you have a 4th and 1 with one of probably the best running back in this league up there. He's getting that another time. And Zeke Elliott. And you don't have any confidence to pick up that 1 yard. Now we have things to look at here. Did Jason Garrett do it because he had full confidence in his defense? Because they've been playing great all game? I can see that. You give the ball to Houston, hopefully pin him inside the 20 and let your defense do the work, get the ball back, flip fields, you'll have good field position. I can see that part of it. But how much confidence are you lacking in the offense to not go for it on 4th and 1 on the opponent's 40? See, because if you don't get it, true, you're giving Houston the ball in good field position around the 40-yard line. But they still have to cross midfield. They still need to get 20-25 yards to be near field goal range. You need 1 yard, and you have Zeke Elliott in the backfield. I think you have to take chances to win games. Like they also, famous saying, you got to risk it to get the biscuit. Risk it to get the biscuit. You got to make decisions, take chances, and we've seen it pay off in other coaches around the league. Sean McVay, Doug Peterson. We see these young coaches that come out and do this stuff like this, and they've been successful. Sean McVay has been the most successful coach over the last 2 years in the play calling, the way he changes the field, the way he uses his offense to take chances, go for it on 4th down. Like Doug Peterson loves going for it on 4th down. It's an offensive league, and you have to adapt to that and try to score as many points as possible, given how the offense has such an advantage these days with all of the penalties on the defensive side, with targeting, unnecessary roughness, the roughing the passer. It is an offensive league, and there's no way in debating that. It has become an offensive league. You need to be able to take chances, especially on 4th down, especially in overtime, especially when you're only 1 yard away from getting a first down, extending the drive. So there's both sides you look at it, and we've seen 2 different coaching decisions came out with the same result. We criticized one of them because one seemed outrageous at the time, and we criticized another one for punting it. It could have went either way. It didn't go his way. But in this moment, I think you have to go for it. And moving forward for the rest of the NFL, the rest of the league, and what you have to do to adapt to today's game, I think that in those situations, you have to go for it. Risk it to get the biscuit. That's our $100 take. Moving on. See, do you ever watch a cheesy commercial? Really wonder why you're watching it? Like you feel like your IQ drops because of it, and you wonder how that was even allowed on television at all. I see it a lot. A lot of just ridiculous commercials that have no right being on television. But then you see some that are funny. You got the "Don't be like this, Rob Lowe. Get off cable and get DirecTV" commercials, and the "You're not you when you're hungry" Snickers commercials, the Progressive commercials with Flo, the Geico commercials. It's funny because the difference between those painfully bad commercials and the ones I just mentioned are the people in them. And you can argue with me all you want, but that's the fact. Sometimes you have actresses, actors, celebrities we know that are presentable on TV, and they can make any commercial look better. See, the bad ones are regular people who we don't know. They don't know how to act. The producing is just weird. The good ones are interesting people. They're actors, celebrities, and they just have it. They have it. We talk about people who just have that thing in them. They have it. See, I see some good commercials, and I saw good commercials in the NFL this week. Those commercials were this year's rookie quarterbacks. The 4 rookie quarterbacks in the NFL went 4-0 this week. Yahoo! They're good commercials. This is why we play them. They are fun. They are interesting. It's intriguing to watch. Instead of plugging in these cheesy, boring, weirdly produced commercials, which represent the other QBs in this league, to hold a spot and let the rookies develop, let the fun ones play. We don't want the Sam Bradfords or the Tyrod Taylors or, for God's sake, the Nathan Petermans. This is why we play them. It's fun. We just went 4-0 this week. See, I said it way back in weeks 1 and 2. You draft a QB in the top 10. He needs to be NFL ready and starting for your team right away. I don't know why there's all these controversies and letting your guy develop. The only experience they're going to get is letting them play the game and developing through experience. They're not getting better by sitting behind Sam Bradford and studying with him and watching him do his thing. Sam Bradford is a failed quarterback in this league. So is Tyrod Taylor. Nathan Peterman's not even in the discussion because he's played 2 halves of football, hasn't thrown a touchdown, has about 7 interceptions. It's terrible. See, I'm not saying they're all going to make the playoffs this year. They're not all going to be MVP candidates. But they are only going to develop and get better in this league with experience, and that experience comes with winning and fun football. They're good commercials. Very good commercials. They are the Progressives and the Geicos and the DirecTV and the Snickers and a lot more. They're not the weird, cheesy, painfully hard to watch commercials that we don't pay attention to because they're so bad. Not that I pay attention to all commercials, but you know where I'm getting. This is why we play the rookie QBs. It's fun. It's interesting. And they went 4-0 this week as a squad. 4-0. Congrats. All right. Final dollar take of the afternoon. See, we talk about the negative influences in professionalism a lot. We talk about the McGregor and Khabib fight and everything that went wrong with it, what happened, how terrible it was to professional sports, the word professional. We analyze how every pro athlete acts on and off the field. Sometimes we don't pay attention to the positives. And if you want to see a true professional at work, you should have been watching the Monday Night Football game last night in New Orleans. Drew Brees. He's a true legend. He's just a gamer. He has it. He's a gamer in the sport of football. He stands as a monumental figure in sports that will be etched in history forever. He passed not only Brett Favre, but now Peyton Manning for first place in the all-time passing record, which stood at 71,490 yards. The reaction was priceless. The celebration was priceless. And the moment he took the share with his family was even more priceless. He pulled his kids in. He had 3 little boys, and they had a baby girl, which was being held by his wife, who he kissed and thanked and hugged. And he pulled his 3 little boys aside and said, we had him mic'd up. You could hear it. He said, you can accomplish anything in life if you're willing to work for it. Now, he said that to his 3 little boys. I'm not sure what their ages are, but yes, granted, they're young. It's what he just said to them in that moment. It's not going to settle in, of course. It's in their little brains yet. They're not going to know. Heck, our teenage kids, we tell that to. They don't understand it yet. But those are the words of a man who has come to work with the goal in mind. He has a relentless work ethic. He's an incredibly humble attitude, a winning mentality, and most of all, he's a great person. Drew Brees is a great man, and any kid growing up in that household with a father like that is blessed and definitely have bright futures ahead of them just because of that man being in their presence, in their household, in their family. And that's true professionalism, is what we saw to Drew Brees last night. The amount of outreach he got for that, the amount of people that called him out on Twitter, not called him out, that sounds negative, shouted him out on Twitter, the nice message Peyton Manning sent for him, all of his past teammates, people that he's played against for years, respect him greatly, and just to see all the people that he was talking to, being congratulated to by at the end of last night's game, it was just a great scene. It's great for sports. These are the moments that we love to see, and I mentioned it last week. It's sometimes these are moments that in sports are more than sports. It's life, and it's more than winning a championship. It's that awesome bond between players and just the impact that they have on fans, teammates, friends, family, relationships in general. Drew Brees is one of those guys. He's a true professional, and we should all live up to a guy like that. Thank you, Drew, for being one of the best quarterbacks of all time, but a great man as well. And that's going to do it for Cole's Corner here this afternoon, here on this lovely Tuesday. The fall is finally here. It's getting a little warm this week. It's the last warm front. It's going to start getting cold, folks. But anyways, thank you for joining. Remember, however you're listening, wherever you're listening. And we'll be back, hopefully, later this week, if not next week. A lot on the plate today. I hope you enjoyed it. Cole's Corner here from WMCB The Fuse. Have a beautiful night.